Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our panel, Generative Artificial Intelligence in Travel, Hospitality and Food Services. Today, we are diving into the transformative power of GenAI within our industry, exploring the current applications, overcoming challenges, and envisioning its future potential. Let me introduce myself. I'm Dimitris Georgiou. I'll be the moderator for this panel. I'm a senior strategy consultant at Deloitte, with a focus on travel, hospitality, and leisure. My journey has spanned roles at the Greek National Tourism Organization, the European Central Bank, and entrepreneurial ventures such as the Forbes Greece 30 Under 30 recognized travel tech startup Discover, and the mission-led boutique hotel Mangata Seaside in North Evia, where GenAI plays some role in our operations. But let's move to our distinguished speakers and the insights they bring to this conversation. First up, joining us from my beloved Stockholm, we have Magnus Hessbo, Senior Advisor at Group NAO and Program Lead of the cutting-edge educational program AI Opener for Destinations. Magnus comes with fresh insights from more than 30 DMMOs, Destination Management and Marketing Organizations, on the topic, while previously he served as Marketing Manager at Visit Stockholm, among other significant positions. Magnus?
Γεια σου, Αθήνα. Γεια σου, Dimitri. I'm very happy to be here. Of course, I have quite some information about the DMOs starting right now. There's a point in this very interesting AI journey. So I'm happy to share just in a bit.
Thank you. Next, I'm delighted to introduce Antonis Tzarougian. I had the pleasure to meet Antonis last year in the first GenAI Summit, and he's both an innovator and thinker. As a master coffee roaster with a PhD in evolutionary biology, Antonis will share his insights on fast prototyping and the hot topic of product customization.
Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be second time here, and it's a great chance to develop our ideas around generative AI and the food industry, which I think is going to be a very hot topic in the future, near future. Thanks.
Thank you. And finally, we have the pleasure of welcoming Nousis, a person I have known and appreciated since my startup years. John, along with his business partner, Stefanos Vazdeikis, are the co-founders of Travelmyth, a hotel search engine for sophisticated travelers, and pioneers in integrated ChatGPT last year, making Travelmyth one of the first in the industry to do so.
Hi, Dimitris. Nice to be here. I'm very happy to share this panel with you. I just want to share whatever I can and help everyone about the usage of GenAI in our company.
Thank you. So, before we delve into our speakers' experiences and the lessons learned over the past year, starting with John, continuing with Antonis, and then with Magnus, let me provide some context on why GenAI is so crucial in our industry and why this moment is pivotal for our discussion. I'm going to use my notes in order to be within time. Just last year, GenAI was a relatively unknown term to many. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, and we have Expedia discussing the GenAI, a completely new generation of travelers who are not just familiar with, but are also leveraging generative AI tools to enhance their travel experiences. According to recent research by Deloitte, nearly 1 in 10 US travelers are now using GenAI for trip planning, a figure that increases when we talk about younger generations. Moreover, a study from Focusrite reveals that nearly half of those aware of GenAI would feel comfortable or extremely comfortable utilizing such tools for their travel arrangements. And this was like 0 a few months ago. GenAI is revolutionizing, brings revolution, both front-end and back-end operations across the industry, enhancing efficiency and effectiveness in numerous ways. Just to name a few, its applications range from generating diverse content forms, creating videos and images to showcase products more effectively, empowering users with easily accessible and understandable insights. It also enables novel market segmentation and the development of richer customer personas, as well as the development of applications for better customer experiences. And the list goes on. Personally, I have leveraged GenAI at my boutique hotel to quickly respond to clients from different countries in a style and way that makes sense with them because we have cultural differences, refine brochures by optimizing the text and the photo arrangements, setting up events calendars, or even reinterpret a century-old food memory into a modern dish. Why now? As the novelty factor of GenAI begins to fade, initial experiments have already illuminated both successes and failures, sometimes even with unexpected outcomes. These experiences reveal the challenges we face, but they also show the way forward in a practical way that makes sense. For example, the travel tech startup D3X leveraged ChatGPT-4 to develop a personalized multilingual AI concierge. It uncovered that users tend to communicate their true desires more openly when they speak with a chatbot, which is a second level of data. However, when we speak about travel planning, there is no reason to mention more case studies because we have here the right person, John. So let's start. Could you tell us, first of all, what you have done at Travelmyth and how did you adapt the technological capability of ChatGPT and other GenAI tools to fit your needs?
Okay, yes. First of all, I may share what Travelmyth is. It's a hotel meta search engine and OTA, online travel agent, where we rank and we classify and rank about 5.5 million hotels and properties around the world into 60 different categories. So some examples are beachfront hotels, dog-friendly hotels, former castle hotels, or hotels with infinity pools. So having so many hotels, we have tremendous amount of data where we can do a lot of stuff with machine learning and AI. So our journey with machine learning in the beginning and AI afterwards was first about developing a few tools like, for example, image categorization and classification. So we can now understand if we see a picture of a hotel, if the pool, for example, has a water slide or it has a view like infinity and stuff like that. Then we continue our journey to generative AI. We have been testing a lot of tools like the GPT-2 or even previous tools for content generation. But the moment that ChatGPT-3 was launched was like a pivotal moment for our company because we started integrating it in every asset. So I have to mention that we are a tech company in our DNA. We are in a very high competitive industry, which is travel, and we are a B2C company. So it's obvious that we can only use those tools more efficiently and faster than our competitors. It's the only way to survive.
Definitely. And what exactly does this ChatGPT plugin in your platform?
So yes, the plugin we launched last year, which is now a custom GPT, they are OpenAI sunsetting the plugin, so they will be called custom GPTs. It's like a travel agent. You can ask practically everything. Like I am planning a trip around Europe, and so propose me places to see, museums to see, restaurants, or whatever OpenAI can fill without Travelmyth, and then they contact Travelmyth in the background, and we suggest the hotels and the prices of them to the users with a nice interface, very basic one for the time being, because ChatGPT doesn't allow much customization to the chats.
Right. Can you share insights on the adoption and user feedback of the ChatGPT plugin on Travelmyth, or how has it influenced booking decisions, if it did?
Yes, the adoption is very low. Like it's kind of tens per queries per day, And I can explain this thing. First of all, it's that it's only available to premium users. So it's not for free subscribers. The other thing is that it's very slow. It's not slow because we send the results slowly, but the content generation from ChatGPT is very slow in the terms of showing the text. So we still have a lot way to go, but I believe the conversational features that this kind of interaction opens, it's something that we'll be seeing a lot more in the future. So it's like only for the early adopters, I would say now.
Right, that's interesting. It reminds me of the takeaway of another travel tech company in the concierge area, Terneo, one of the hot Focusrite 25 startups last year, that they decided to continue experimenting with the GenAI, but they abandoned their ChatGPT chatbot because, okay, it helps writing the itineraries, but it cannot take away the human touch and the exclusivity. Would you agree that this is also another thing?
I'm not really worried about that, actually. Yeah. I think that conversational features will arrive in a very short term in our phones, like in the next months. Maybe not in Greece because we have the language barrier, but for US and English, it is going something to explode in the next few months, I believe.
Right, thank you. And reflecting on the evolution of Travelmyth since the introduction of that ChatGPT plugin, what are your future plans for leveraging GenAI to further innovate, not just with ChatGPT? I think Stefanos also mentioned that you check other things also. And do you have any advice to other travel and hospitality businesses looking to adopt GenAI technologies?
Yes, first of all, we use ChatGPT in every aspect of our company, like in code development, answers to communication with hotels and partners, media planning, everything. Like it's the default option for creating things now, even from brainstorming. The evolution will be that we will introduce a natural language interface for Travelmyth, so everyone can ask whatever they want and we will supply the results, which of course will work with the app as well through voice. Now, what I will suggest for other companies is, first of all, to buy a subscription for ChatGPT Plus. I know this sounds very obvious, but from my whole life experience, those $20 are the best value for money I have ever gotten everywhere. And even if they don't know what to ask, they can simply tell ChatGPT that they don't know what to ask, but here is my company, this is what I do, show me the questions that I should ask. And then it will go on and this will evolve in something very good. So it's all a matter of how much they use it and how they use it.
All right, saying that, one last question from my side. You spoke about this well-spent $20, but you are also a tech-first startup. What about the companies that do not have the tech expertise?
It's not a barrier. I mean, the subscription is available to everyone. You can personally, not even as a company, get a subscription and start asking even personal matters. It doesn't matter that we are a tech company for this level of interaction with ChatGPT. And then, even if you are not in the tech field, you can start asking technical questions in a way that ChatGPT will explain it to you and offer solutions. Even for, this is an example different than tech, but you could ask the most difficult thing to explain it like I'm 5, which is something that ChatGPT will do.
Thank you. I'm not going to take more of your time to leave questions later for the people attending us. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We move to Antonis. Last year, Antonis and I delved into a fascinating discussion on the potential of GenAI and ChatGPT for fast prototyping and product development in food. a topic that also touches upon very hot and key tourism trends, such as the personalization and authenticity. Before going to Antonis, let me quickly illustrate an interesting example I provided from my own experience. I was doing an oral history project aimed at preserving North Evia's culinary heritage. One memory shared was, I remember my mom's loom, her pies, and the smell of trachana in the morning or afternoon. She would cook trachanas, put it in a big pan, and we would all eat around with a spoon. Utilizing ChatGPT, we rapidly generate ideas, recipes, cooking methods, and presentation styles to bring this material, trachanas, to present given specific parameters and constraints regarding our region, our kitchen, etc. So then our chef actualized this concept, creating a dish featuring trachanas, garden herbs, chicken fillet, local feta cheese, which became a bestseller in our restaurant. And we're going to have it again this year. So, Antonis, I'm excited to hear where you stand at the moment, utilizing GenAI on what you do, and what successful examples you have to share with us almost 1 year after.
Well, it's been just about a year since we started utilizing ChatGPT and generative AI in our coffee. And I'll be talking about coffee roasting since that's my area of expertise. However, you have to understand that it can be applied to more or less any field, since most products involve biochemical processes which you can manipulate for an end product. Our goal and why we use generative AIs is to maximize the experience and health of our customers. And I'm still talking about coffee. So one thing we really looked into was genetic variations in taste perception across populations, which means basically some population experience some tastes differently than others, on average. And namely, for example, Southern Europe with Northern Europe tend to have a specific gene called, TAS2R38, which codes basically for experience bitterness in a different way. More appreciative, so they like bitter stuff, or they dislike, or it might be very intense. So therefore, when you're looking at populations, at markets where you want to sell your coffee or whichever product, you want to have an idea of where you want to, what you want to work with, what you're working with, who are your clients, and how you can basically transfer that information into roasting. And those biochemical processes, with the help of AI, can be manipulated in order to maximize or reduce bitterness, which is one example of that. The other, I think, extremely interesting aspect of roasting and using generative AI is that it led us to understand the health benefits. Coffee has various health benefits. One of them is the chlorogenic acid. It's full of chlorogenic acids. Chlorogenic acids are known to balance the microbiome in our system, which is basically the concentration of microorganisms, bacteria, and fungi in our stomach. And that's really a hot topic in terms of how it affects our health, our psychology, and everything. And supposedly, well, actually we know that coffee is very rich on chlorogenic acid. However, the way you roast it and the type of coffee you use affects the outcome. So basically the concentration of the chlorogenic acid as an end product. So what we found was, after asking the right questions, because it's all about asking the right questions with generative AI, is that we found that Ibrik, or Greek coffee, or Turkish coffee, which is the local coffee, has the potential of really increasing those health benefits compared to other methods of roasting and brewing. And we found that manipulating with the help of generative AI and our roasters. The roasting profile, it's the ideal product to maximize those benefits. And that's something that we need to be able to talk to people about it and make them understand. So that's what we've been focusing on.
Okay, that's fascinating, because from preferences in an abstract way, you went to a different, more practical level, taking under consideration genome and other characteristics of the body. This is very interesting, but which are the challenges in order to implement this amazing stuff?
The main challenge I've been looking with generative AI is convincing people at this stage that just because we use generative AI, it doesn't take the human aspect away. We're not less of an artisanal coffee roasting company because I use generative AI. It's a tool. It doesn't take away the human factor. And I've seen with a lot of other people in our in the hospitality business, chefs tend to be like threatened by it. They feel like if you use it, you'll be less personalized, which I think is the opposite. It's a tool, it's a research. I feel like I have a research lab working for me. That's what I feel. I don't feel it's taking away from my imagination and my human input. That's the challenge at this point. And obviously, the other thing is that you need to be able to criticize what it gives you back. And I've seen it many times. It wasn't exactly where it should be. And if you don't have the knowledge, like if I didn't have the biological knowledge as a background, it would be more difficult. So you need the expert on validating those responses.
So essentially you say that it does not nullify the artisanal process, but in contrast, it enhances that thing.
I truly believe that, and if I'm allowed to go into different areas like art and writing even, I don't think it takes away the human aspect. I think it intensifies and it saves you time and bypasses practical things that those are not what art is about or what artisanal product is about.
What about other potential barriers such as data accessibility or costs?
Well, since we're able, I think, to analyze this data so fast, I think the important thing at this point, where I always get at a dead point, is that there's not enough data out there. There's not enough research being done. So I think the important thing for all industries is to start collecting data and feed them into that. And obviously, the 2-year gap, it's an issue on a fast-moving, dynamic areas where things change within a week. To be analyzed, I need to feed it the most recent data.
All right, thank you. And one more question, because as we know, specialty coffee is a huge trend, food is a huge trend, an horizontal thing for tourism. What would be some key lessons or even tips, advice from your side regarding the utilization of GenAI for fast prototyping to other tourism businesses?
I think the environmental aspect is very important. I think we have a tool in our hands which we can direct it towards designing menus and foods and plates which are more environmental, and without reducing the quality of the product. And manipulating the biochemical processes in products that have biochemical processes. And there are many, like wine, oil, cheese, beer. There's so many things that if you start looking into those biochemical processes, you can manipulate them in a way that you will enhance the experience of your specific target group and the health benefit.
All right.
I think.
So sustainability.
It's always a...
Thank you. Thank you, Antonis. So now, let's shift our focus to our last speaker, Magnus. Just to make an introduction, the long-term sustainability of a tourism business often extends beyond its direct control. And this underscores the critical importance of comprehensive destination development, management, and marketing. NAO has spearheaded several innovative projects in this area, including a personal favorite of mine, Democracy. Actually, yeah, I have utilized some data for a recent article of mine titled Vitamin C from Community in Tourism Model. But let's delve into GenAI and its role in this context. So, Magnus, I'm looking down because I have the screen here. Based on your pre-talks with DMOs in the context of the AI opener for destinations, that obviously you are more than welcome to talk about this program if you want, what would you say is the current state of the destinations in terms of GenAI, and if you can share a couple of examples of successful implementations by DMOs in Europe or elsewhere?
I can, and if I would do it in a very short summary, I would say that the destination management organizations, the DMOs, are very curious, but they are not yet skilled. They are not yet prepared in an overview. Just as you said, we have done more than 30 interviews with all those 36 program partners being part of the program AI Opener for Destinations. The city of Athens is one of those participants as well. But before that, we also carried out a survey among 210 destination professionals just to see where do they stand in terms of Gen AI. And it's not a surprise that the impact is really felt to be disruptive on the travel and tourism industry. And the good news is that 87% say that they think the impact will have a more positive than negative effect on their work life. So people are very positive and curious. 73% feel curiosity in terms of generative AI. But the same amount, 76%, say that they are not really prepared or skilled for a future with AI. And only 15% of the DMOs has AI as a strategic priority. Now, when talking to all those 35 destination partners, and I ask them to rate themselves, where are you when it comes to AI know-how between 0, I know nothing, to 10, I know it all, to 5, I know some bits and pieces. The average is only 3.5. So it's still a quite beginner level, I would say. 80% have no structured use of AI so far, and 70% more or less have no AI initiatives planned for the year to come. So people are really eager to start because 100%, all of them, are playing around with ChatGPT. That's the verb, play around. In a very lustful, creative way, they try to learn, but they have no idea about the future boundaries of a DMO. What can I do? What can I not do? So there's only, of those 35 I've been talking to, there's only one not having an AI strategy or an AI policy, but a sort of AI policy, so a one-pager of just some, let's do this. So people are really lacking a strategic framework. But in general, the use is generating content and getting also second case of user case would be to have it as a creative sparring partner to get inspiration. If mentioning some user cases, I just 3 days ago saw something really cool from Visit Aarhus, which is the destination management organization for the second biggest city in Denmark, where the marketing team of 5 employees created GPTs with digital twins. So they clone themselves. So Magnus with, well, flesh and blood could actually have a GPT Magnus, and we could give each other pieces of advice. Hey, I'm going to do a campaign about this. What should be the messages? What should be the target group? And the GPT, the Magnus, GPT could just give me a piece of advice, and I'm like, oh, I agree with that. What do you think about that? So you can have a twin of yourself to, just exchange ideas. That's cool. And from the US, last but not least, I also want to highlight Visit Estes Park, which do a lot of cool stuff in Colorado, US. Just as Travelmyth talked about, also with itineraries, they have a consumer-facing AI tool called Rocky Mountain Roamer, where you can just chat on and get itineraries, ideas, links to content, and you can actually book hotels and flights as well. They do a lot of stuff, and they use AI also to get the entire team on board to learn AI, but also as an education opportunity to talk to the local stakeholders, all the tourism businesses at the destinations, to learn together. And that's quite cool how AI can be used as that, as well as a tool.
Right, this is fascinating, and also the digital twin, very hot, as I would say. Which do you think, because you said they have understood, destinations have understood the potential, but most of them still play around a bit. Which are the biggest challenges and concerns to implement that kind of technology?
I think the biggest problem is just they don't know how to get started. So the trick is really to find relevant tasks for you. So people are getting a little bit fed up with writing poems and generating images of Labradors podcasting from a mountain. So how can me as a destination professional, use this? So they want really hands-on for a DMO, practical skills to develop. And those DMOs who have created teams within the organizations, AI advisory councils, that, for instance, meet on a monthly basis sharing ideas, they really get faster ahead and learn. Look what we did like this. And also organizations that kind of force your team to at least 1 hour per week, you should use this or this tool to actually get it under your skin. That's a trick. But then again, many DMOs and NTOs, national tourism organizations, are either part of the state or the city administration. And that can also be somewhat risk-reducing behavior as well. People don't want to do wrong. So people are really waiting and look what others are doing. People are waiting for the European Union AI Act. What can I do and what can I not do? And actually in my program with 36 partners, I have 2 partners who are not allowed to use AI. They're still part of the program because they think it will be so disruptive and big and grand. We have to be a part of it. But still, we have been ordered not to use it. So that's very interesting. Time will tell. There's also a challenge in terms of gender gap. So in research we've done, we see that actually 45% of the women are not familiar with generative AI, whereas it's only 22% of the men. And also looking at us speaking here today, we are more men ahead of this. So that's very important. We see a bigger gender gap in more than an age gap, really. So it's important, I think, a challenge to get everyone on board so we all are aligned and as a team. I think a challenge also for the DMO always been, the authentic voice of the destination. We are Stockholm or we are Berlin, but now there are AI generated texts and guides all over telling about a place. So what is hallucination and what is the true official fact and what's the tone of voice? That's also, I think, stress the DMOs a little bit. So in the future, perhaps we see more labeling that can help what's AI generated and what's, official information or AI generated official information. What do I know? Also speaking about sustainability, was it Antonis who talked about that? But also the travel sector has been heavily screened in terms of sustainability and environmental costs. And that's also interesting, I think, both for users, but also as a DMO employee. What sort of energy consumption do I use when using generative AI? So eco-labeling, etc., could also be interesting. It's a challenge because sustainability is key for the DMOs and the future travel business, I think.
Right. This actually would be my next question about other uses beyond the content generation. But I can understand that GenAI can be used in operations, achieving sustainability, in that kind of thing. Okay, I have one last question. I'm not sure if you can reply to that. If you have insights for Greece, for Athens, since you mentioned that you had an interview with them, if you are allowed to reveal anything about here. Okay.
Specifically, I cannot say, but I know what I think is a key for many destinations. I mean, Greece, entire Greece has a beautiful archipelago. I have friends having a hotel at Syros. So it's beautiful, but at some points there could be really heavy tourism flow. So I think visitor flow management could be also boosted by AI. That could be cool to have smarter tourism and spread out tourism. So that's important, I think. And also, as you said, Dimitris, from your hotel, that you can, with AI, have a tone of voice, so you can connect your destination or hotel to each and every one, to have the destination accessible. So 24/7, you can also, via AI tools, talk to people far away, so in your language. So that's also cool.
Great, thank you so much. We heard very interesting things, more than what I personally expected about sustainability, for instance, about customization, etc. We also had some very interesting predictions for the technology evolution, such as the voice factor or the precision and the clarity. Before going to questions from the people here, from the audience, I would like to ask you, and I'm also put something here, if you have a general takeaway in a few sentences for the go-through of the sector regarding GenAI, even if this is not very, very relevant on your topic, just a general prediction, a general statement about success factors or whatever, something that you feel about GenAI in tourism. If you want, I can put my 2 cents of wisdom. So, personally, I would highlight that GenAI's impact can extend beyond our immediate sector, touching on vital areas such as education or finance, to solve broader challenges, remind us to look at the larger ecosystem. For instance, it's one thing to enhance our operations. It's also another thing to use GenAI to bridge the talent gap or to transform banking models in order to better support small tourism businesses, for instance. So I would say that this is one thing, and another thing is to see the broader ecosystem. What about you?
Okay, for the broader ecosystem, I can think of many new use cases that will appear as soon as more parties involved in the industry use GenAI. For example, there is a recent growth in chatbots. So let's imagine that most hotels are in a few months or years using chatbots. Then, for example, someone could come to Travelmyth, ask Travelmyth, and then Travelmyth initiate like 300 chats in real time, gather all data, and find out which hotels offer, for example, what the user asked Travelmyth. So I see a lot of new cases popping up in the next, in the near future.
Antonis?
Yes, I have. I'll say something about my industry and about more general. I think in our industry, the food industry, I think the important thing is understanding that in the very near future, hopefully, we'll be able to go into a shop or a supermarket and through our personal data, be able to pick and choose exactly what suits us as individuals rather than as populations, which means our genome has to be analyzed and the health benefits and our taste preferences And then you go, I'm imagining myself going into a cafe, and the suggestions I'll be getting regarding calorie intake, probiotic benefits, and pleasure, then I think that's a great tool. Now, when it comes in more general, I think AI inevitably is going to be used in all aspects of life, and I think it should be in the future. And being able to utilize it in social and economic areas is going to be great, because if you think about it, we have a tool now that much faster and easier can give us results about how to maximize the experience, the quality of life of the average person.
Thank you. Thank you. Magnus, any addition, and we move to potential questions.
Yeah, I think I share Antonis' picture of it will impact all of us, and we will use it to a much greater extent than we do today. Today is a little bit like when electricity came, disruptive as well. We're just on the light switch on, off for the main lamp, and we think it's fun. But I think it's key to find what are the AI tools for me and what are not. So just with the lamps in the room, we have decorative lighting, we have seasonal lighting, we have dimmers, fading, we have reading lights. So we cannot jump on all trains. So my advice is really to get started trying, and also to learn together. I think there's also a good example with this conference to also learn what's happening out there and to pair with partners that you can learn from. I also think you have to do your lessons. So what can you do and what can you not do? So generally we have to wait some laws and rules and restriction perhaps, but also internally, that's where we have to start. So what is your strategic framework? What are your do's and don'ts? I think ethically as well, I have a framework. So you have a starting point, a map, play rules to go from, and then it's just start exploring and trying really.
Thank you. So we move to the audience. If you have any question for our speakers.
Hello. Do you see any benefit in communicating to the end customer, for example, that the food product, the coffee, for example, that you produce, it is made with the assistance of generative AI or not? Because I mean, it's a tool that anyone can use for any product, call it coffee, a cookbook, a recipe, or whatever, as a tool on the side. But is there any, does it add up if you communicate that this tool has assisted you?
Like I briefly mentioned, in terms of marketing, yes, I don't think it does in my field. Like, especially since I'm an artisanal coffee roaster, they get confused about why are you using, so you're not roasting the coffee. Well, so but that's a miscommunication. I think in the near future, when we actually understand how people use these tools, like I said, it doesn't take away. But at this point, no, I don't have an advantage on marketing and communication at all.
Okay, thank you.
Another question for Magnus, please.
Yes, for Magnus.
So Magnus, I'm not sure I understood how you created an identical twin for a town through GPT. I thought it needed more technical background, or I didn't get it. Could you please elaborate, or is there any articles we can read about it?
This was work in progress then from Visit Aarhus in northwestern Denmark. So you can, with your GPT-4 client, create your own GPTs. So that's how they, in the GPT creation, set limitation, tone of voice, and then you feed the GPT with a lot of downloadables, PDF, vision, and everything you have from your company. And it will, I mean, search on the internet, but also base all their activity and generated content based on your internal documentation. So that is what you can do now with the GPT-4 version. But they haven't launched. I mean, this is an internal tool for their company, But you can as well, where you work, create a clone of yourself, just saying, base all your knowledge on these papers, steering papers, and be my sparring partner.
I have created one myself, one custom GPT for a destination. But, you know, I never thought that I could feed it with data, statistical data, and be able to use it for governance. I mean, it sounds great.
I'm glad you liked it.
Thank you.
Do we have time for another?
I am Theodore from Travel Daily News. I would like to ask John, there are plenty of OTAs around the world. How can AI help you differentiate your services compared to the others and increase your market share?
Yeah, nice question, because the competition is huge. So what we do is that we focus a lot on the long tail and also combining tags like categories. For example, we get the users who search for skyscraper hotels or for infinity pool hotels, for example. So these are long queries that are not well served at all, sometimes from other OTAs. Another example is if you could search for beachfront hotels on Booking.com, for example, it's very hard to get the right results. So for each category that we have, for each of the 60 categories we have, we go in great detail and we use a different algorithm that we develop ourselves with different criteria each time. So we try to present as much data as possible, which as a result, it gets us users from search engines mainly.
I suppose that your inventory is coming through the wholesalers API, yes?
Yes, we have a strategic partnership with Booking, Expedia, and other providers, also bed banks, as we also an OTA. And these are what we call the basic data, like the inventory. But then we go in and collect our own data, like the information that's available on the internet from the websites of the hotels. We even go away more to send questionnaires to the hotels. So have collected many thousands of answers for each category for many hotels around the world, which are very detailed. Like you can see, for example, hotels that allow dogs to sleep on the beds. This is an example, or playgrounds in hotels that have a nice shade.
So essentially it comes to the real need at the end of the day, and GenAI or AI is just a medium.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to say that, yeah, but...
Okay, yeah, we don't have time for time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All of you, and you.
But it's